Welcome to our short news report about the infamous Battle of Gettysburg, which took place during the Civil War.
The Battle of Gettysburg was fought between the Union and Confederate armies between July 1st and July 3rd in 1863. Gettysburg was a small town in Pennsylvania that was very important because it was a crossroads between the North and the South.
Gettysburg was the largest battle ever fought in North America, with a total of 85,000 Union soldiers and 75,000 Confederate soldiers taking part in the battle. It was a major turning point in the war, marked by the important Union victory.
The two main players of the Battle of Gettysburg were Confederate General Robert E. Lee, the leader of the Army of Northern Virginia, and General George G. Meade, the leader of the Army of Potomac.
After a successful battle at Chancellorsville, Virginia, in May of 1863, General Lee wanted to destroy as many military posts as he could, while the majority of the Union forces were protecting the White House.
Lee wanted to destroy military posts in Maryland and Pennsylvania as a political move. He hopes major losses would stop political support for the Union and possibly end the war in favor of the South.
Lee's key target was Camp Curtin near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. On the way to the camp, a skirmish happened in Gettysburg between two cavalry forces on July 1st, which led to the start of the battle. Day 1 was the 23rd biggest battle of the Civil War, involving 22,000 of Meade's men and 27,000 of Lee's men.
On July 2nd, more soldiers assembled on each side, and by late afternoon, General Lee began a heavy attack on the Union forces. There was fighting in many areas around Gettysburg, including Little Round Top, Devil's Den, and the Peach Orchard, as well as Cupp's Hill and Cemetery Hill. Union forces held their ground, and after a long day of fighting, they defended their lines against General Lee.
On day 3, great battles at Cupp's Hill and other spots surrounding Gettysburg. These battles were hard fought with much heavy artillery, as well as 2 significant cavalry battles.
As the day's fighting raged on and Union forces took the lead, Lee refused to retreat from his battle, and there was a historic battle at Cemetery Ridge called Pickett's Charge, in which managed to temporarily cut the Union forces' line, but ultimately failed, costing thousands of lives.
On July 4th, 1863, General Lee and his Confederate soldiers were forced to retreat from Pennsylvania back into Virginia. The Union win at Gettysburg was a very important turning point in the Civil War, as it ended General Lee's hopes to invade the North. The North celebrated, while the South realized that the Confederacy would never officially be recognized.
The 3-day Battle of Gettysburg saw a great loss of life. Union deaths numbered over 23,000, while General Lee saw 1/3 of his soldiers killed, roughly 28,000 men. It was the largest death toll during the battle. It was the largest death toll of any battle during the Civil War.
On November 19, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln delivered the now famous Gettysburg Address, which marked the dedication of Soldiers' National Cemetery, a cemetery for Union soldiers killed at the Battle of Gettysburg.
Abraham Lincoln Gettysburg Address, 19 November 1863. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proportion that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a proportion of that field as a final resting place for those who gave their lives that this nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hollow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or decrete. The world will little note nor longer remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is us, for the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have only thus nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining for us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth.
The general of the Confederate believed the intelligence he was given about the Union from a trusted source. He did not think of consulting other sources to determine if the information was correct. Because of this, he entered into a situation blindly at a disadvantage. This type of behavior is displayed today. The only difference is we have a lot more resources that enables us to spread rumors and lies more quickly. The methods we use today are the news and social. Unfortunately, they do not get their facts straight before broadcasting. It's not about quality anymore. It's about who gets the story first. Many people believe everything they hear or see on social media and waste no time in responding, reposting, and sharing. I think that social media today has its advantages and drawbacks. It helps us know what is going on around the world instantaneously. It can also be used to help us communicate with our friends and families. At the same time, it invades the privacy of many people's privacy. I think that if social media was available during the war, the Confederate general would have had a better idea of what to expect from the Union Army and would have sent more soldiers because he had no other source to rely on. He believed the information that was given by a source that he thought he could trust. I believe that if there was social media and the news, the battle would have had a different turnout, and maybe, just maybe, less lives would have been lost. In the Gettysburg War, I think media and social media would have been a big help.